Hello students, my name is Niyati Said and thanks for watching Edupedia word videos. My topic for the presentation is the 15th section of the chapter, Structural Organization in Animals. We'll be talking about the reproductive system in frogs today. Okay, so as we know, in frogs sexes are separate. Male and female frogs can be morphologically distinguished. The male frog, they have vocal cords which enable them to make a croaking noise to attract the females during the rainy and the breeding season. Okay. The male reproductive system consists of a pair of testes that are attached to the kidney. Okay. So the male reproductive system, I'm talking about the male frogs. So the male reproductive system consists of pair of testes. As you can see, this yellow oval shaped, these are testes. Okay. So they are present in pair and they are attached to the kidney. These are kidney. These two are kidney. So the testes, they are attached to the kidney. Each testis, they open into the kidney with the help of numerous fine ducts called vasa efferentia. These are vasa efferentia, which are numerous fine ducts called vasa efferentia through which testes open into the kidney, and sperms produced by the testes are carried through the ureters, and hence in the male, ureter are called urinogenital tract. These are ureters and the sperms are carried from kidney to the ureter. So that's the reason they are called as urinogenital. That means it helps in the urine also for the passing of the urine, and it is related with the genital thing also. So that's the reason its name is urinogenital duct. Okay. But this is in males. Okay, this is in males, please note that. And then comes before coming to the female reproductive system, I would like to tell you that cloaca is a small, this is cloaca, it is a small median chamber that is used to pass fecal matter, urine and sperms to the exterior part of the body. Okay, so the male reproductive system, it consists of pair of ovoid testes which are 2 in number, or you can say they are present always in pairs. Okay, and they are adhered to the upper part of the body by the upper fold of the peritoneum, which we call it as mesochium. And testes, they are attached with the vasa efferentia, which are numerous in number. It is seen that they are 10 to 12. It ranges in between 10 to 12, and it enters the kidney and they open into the Bidder's canal. Okay, and which open into the urinogenital duct, and that opens into the cloaca finally. And then the cloaca is the small median chamber that is used to pass fecal matter, urine and sperms to the exterior part. Okay, so this was all about the male reproductive system. Now comes the female reproductive system. Female reproductive system is consist of a pair of ovaries and a pair of oviducts. Ovaries, they are attached to the kidneys. They carry numerous ova which are released to outside through the oviducts. Okay, and it is seen that in breeding season, the male and the female frog, they enter into a process of temporary union called amphilexis. Okay, in which the male holds the female, presses her trunk and thereby forces the female to release the egg in a cluster called spawn. We'll be studying each one in detail, but for the time being, just know that in the breeding system, the male frog, it releases sperm simultaneously to bring about external fertilization. So before going into the breeding and all, I would like to tell you about the female reproductive organ. The pair of ovaries they are present, which are present near the kidneys, and there is no functional connection with the kidney, unlike male reproductive system. Okay, and pair of oviducts are also present from the ovaries that open into the cloaca separately. And the mature female, it lays around 2500 to 3000 ovas at a time. And fertilization in frog is external and it takes place in water. Development, it involves a larva stage, okay, but the development is indirect because it involves a larva stage, because it involves the occurrence of the larva, which we call it as tadpole, and it is a small fish-like creature which hatches out from the egg after completing the development. Okay, and the tadpole then swims freely in water and feeds on the planktonic food. Initially, the tadpole have external gills which become replaced by internal gills. Limbs, they appear gradually, and then tail shortens. Along with these, a few other significant changes takes place that transform the tadpole into the young adult, and these changes together they constitute and form metamorphosis, okay, which we call it as metamorphosis, in which the tadpole, it undergoes metamorphosis to form the adult. Okay. Now the female reproductive system functions. It has urinary ducts. Urinary ducts are the tubes in a frog that carry urine from the kidney to the cloaca. Okay. And then comes urinary bladder, the organ that collects and stores urine until released. And then comes adrenal glands. These are the organs which are located near the kidney, which secretes hormone. And then comes ova or eggs. Ova is a female gametes, you can say. Okay. Then come ovaries. Ovaries are present in the these are the organs of the female reproductive system that produces eggs or ova. And then comes oviducts. Oviducts are the tubes of the female frog reproductive system that carries eggs from the ovaries to the cloaca, which is a sac-like. Okay. And then comes testes. These are the organs of the male reproductive system, or you can say that testes are the male sex organs that produce sex cells, which we call it as sperm. Sperms are male gametes. And then comes seminal vesicle. It is the enlarged distal sections of the male frog urinary ducts that collect sperm prior to the entry into the cloaca. That means before cloaca, sperms are stored in seminal vesicle. Okay. Then comes copulation in frog. The entry of the sperm in the egg is the basic requirement of the sexual reproduction. Okay. In this, the eggs, they are enveloped by liquid viscous albumin. That means the egg is being covered by a layer which we call it as, or you can say it is enveloped by a liquid viscous thing which we call it as albumin. When this albumin comes in contact with water, it swells by absorbing water. Okay, that means imbibition takes place and it absorbs the water and gets swelled up, and this albumin becomes very thick and transparent, colorless jelly. Okay, so the albumin, it becomes very thick because of swallowing, and it becomes transparent, colorless jelly. This jelly does not permit the entry of any sperm through it. Okay. In frogs, the fertilization is external and it takes place in water. Okay. So it is essential that the sperm should be able to enter the egg before the jelly formation or before the transparent jelly formation. Okay, for this purpose the sperm should remain in as close as contact with egg as possible. Copulation is very essential in frogs in order to provide the maximum possible number of eggs. An opportunity for fertilization within a very short span of time. Okay. Then frog, they reproduce in monsoon in very dim light. Okay, they always reproduce in dim light. Usually when it is raining, the male frogs, it collect near the bank of water pool or ditches. They produce croaking sound with the help of vocal sacs. I have told you that male produces croaking sounds to attract females, so that they produce croaking sound with the help of vocal sacs. Vocal sacs acts as amplifiers. That means they are attracting females for mate, okay, or for mating. So the vocal sacs, they act as amplifiers, and the croaking is mating call for the female frogs. Okay, the female frogs, they get attached and approach the male frog. The male frog, it rides over the female frog's trunk and embraces it. Okay, and the male frog, it holds the female frog firmly by its forelimbs and nuptial pads. The couple, that means the two mates, they remain in the condition for 2 to 3 days. Just imagine that they remain in the condition for 2 to 3 days. The frog, it takes a long time to become sexually excited because they are cold-blooded animals and they are devoid of copulatory organs. That means they don't have any organs for sex or for copulation. Okay, so that's the reason they take very long time to become sexually active. And the male, it holds the female more tightly at the state of orgasm, and male frog, it pushes the female from its trunk so that female can lay eggs in the water, because their fertilization takes place in water. Okay, and at this stage the female discharges a large number of the eggs in water from its ovary sac through the cloacal aperture. And then the male frog, right at the same moment, it discharges its sperm over egg falling in water. That means as soon as female, it lays egg, the male frog, it also discharges its sperm over the eggs, and the two animals, they separate from each other on completion of this process. Okay, now comes fertilization in frogs. Okay, so the process of copulation is immediately followed by the process of fertilization. Okay, the fertilization, I have told you that it is external and it takes place in water. Each egg falling in water has a small conical protuberances from the equatorial plane. Just know that they have very small tail-like structure, or the protuberances. Okay, and this conical protuberances is called reception cone. At the tip of the reception cone is very thin ball, and it projects out of the albuminous layer. Normally, each egg is surrounded by innumerable sperms. That means millions of sperms. The first sperm that reaches the tip of the reception cone dissolves the tip with the help of the enzyme secreted by the acrosome on its head. That means we very well know that the sperm has acrosome in it. At the tip of the sperm, that is acrosome. So acrosome, it secretes an enzyme that dissolves the layer of the egg, you can say, and makes up passage into the egg. So the head and the middle piece of the sperm, it enters the egg, and while the vibratile tail is left off and it remains outside the egg. Okay, I have told you that the fertilization is external and development is indirect. Development is indirect. It involves the occurrence of the larva, which we call it as tadpole. Okay, it is a small fish-like creature which hatches out from the egg after completing the development. Okay, the tadpole, it swims freely in water and feeds on planktonic food. Initially, the tadpole have external gills which become replaced by internal gills. Limbs, they appear gradually and tail just become shortens. Okay, tail becomes shortens. Along with these, a few other significant changes takes place that transform the tadpole into the young adult frog, and these changes together constitute a metamorphosis. So see how this takes place. This is the adult frog, and it lays egg. Okay, female frog, it lays egg. The egg, they hatch into a small fish-like larva which we call it as tadpole. This is tadpole. Okay, tadpole is a limbless aquatic larva of the frog or the toad. It has gills and long flat tail. As the tadpole approaches the adult stage, legs, lungs develop and the tail gradually disappears. Okay, it takes time to disappear the tail, which grow larger as they feed on these tadpole. They feed on planktonic trees. Okay, and as it begins metamorphosis, the tadpole grows hind limbs. Okay, see, hind limbs has grown, and after both pairs of the limbs are complete, the animal has exchanged its gills for lungs. That means gills have now been transformed into lungs, because they are amphibians. They can live both in water as well as in land. Okay, the animal has exchanged its gills from the lungs, and the froglet, they crawl into land because they have lungs now and they can thrive on land. Now the frog, it reabsorbs the rest of its tail and it continues to grow, and then tail finally disappears and it reaches and forms and becomes adult frog. Okay, and please note that this is known as frog spawn. That means eggs, they are numerous in number, so the eggs, they are called as frog spawn, and they hatch into tadpoles, which is a larval stage, and they look like fish. The tadpole, they have gills and the tail and the special jaws for eating vegetation. Okay, now how series of changes occur, we'll see that during fertilization a series of changes occur in egg. The nucleus of the secondary oocyte, it divides into two nuclei. Okay, how it takes place? It takes place in 4 steps, which are those. First, one of these nuclei, they remain in egg cell, and it is known as female pronucleus, whereas the other nuclei, it is pushed out through the egg cell membrane. This nucleus, it settles as a second polar body and it remains near the first polar body. Okay, and then the reception cone, which is present in the egg, it becomes flattened and closed. The cell content of the egg with egg cell membrane shrinks, and the cell content of the egg gets fully separated from the egg membrane. That means the content of the egg, it becomes separated from the egg membrane, which is albuminous in nature. Okay, so the egg membrane is now termed as fertilization membrane. Then comes the head of the sperm, that is acrosome. So it has enzyme in it that dissolves the layer of the egg, okay, so that it makes the passage to move into the egg. So the head of the sperm that has entered the egg changes its shape. The head of the sperms become a round male pronucleus, okay, and the male pronucleus move towards the female pronucleus, because female pronucleus, as I have taught you, that they are also one of these nuclei they remain in egg cell, and it is known as female pronuclei, okay. So the male pronuclei, it finally moves towards the female pronuclei, and it finally fuses with it to form a diploid, that is 2N nucleus, which we call it as zygote nucleus. So the melanin granules, they settle deeper from the surface exactly onto the opposite side of the site of entry of the sperm into the eggs. As a consequence, a much less dark grey colored semilunar patch, which we call it as grey crescent, is formed. An egg having a grey crescent formed in it can be recognized as fertilized egg. And fertilized egg, another name is zygote, that is 2N in nature, okay. So this is how the copulation and fertilization and metamorphosis takes place. Now, what is the economic importance of frogs? So they eat insects and they protect the crops. They are very beneficial for humankind. They maintain ecological balance by serving as an important link of food chain and food web in the ecosystem. And in some countries, the muscular legs of the frog, they are used as food by men. So they are of economical importance and they are very beneficial for humankind. So this was all about the frogs, and this ends with the chapter structural organization in animals. And my next section of the presentation will be studying about the next chapter, that is excretory system, okay. So till then, stay tuned and keep watching Wikipedia word videos.